radio for the Agile community. www.Agile.FM. Today I'm here with Jurgen Appelo, a Dutch guy, a creative networker, writer, speaker, trainer, entrepreneur, illustrator, manager, a blogger at NOOP.NL, reader, dreamer, freethinker. Jurgen, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Jochen. Thanks for having me.
Well, this is a recorded, we're doing this over the phone, actually, this podcast. And Jurgen, a couple of things I do want to talk about with you. Well, first of all, there's it's just a rundown of topics I would love to discuss here on this podcast with you. One is a management workout. I want to talk a little bit about STOS. I want to talk about how to change the world. I want to talk about who is Happy Melly. I want to talk about if somebody can't draw, if that's an option as well. And maybe we talk a little bit about NOOP.NL. How is that?
All right. Well, that's a lot of topics that you want to cover, but I'm all for it.
All right, let's start with the workout. Your latest addition to your bookshelf, your personal bookshelf, a book you're writing, Management 3.0 Workout. Is that the title of the book?
Yes, that's correct. I noticed in my classes, Management 3.0 classes, and at conferences, that people are most interested in actionable things that managers and leaders can do next week, because most of the management books are a bit abstract in the sense that they say, for example, trust the team, but then it is very unclear how to do that on the next Monday morning. So it is lacking in a concrete, actionable sense. So I've decided the next book should be very, very concrete, and each chapter should be something that you can do next Monday morning or next Tuesday afternoon. That's my goal for the book.
So it's an extension to Management 3.0, which is more like the concept of your approach, and this is the handbook, the exercise book.
Correct, yes. So it's quite common for writers to have their magnum opus, so to speak, and then have a follow-up with more concrete, a concrete field guide, so to speak. So I'm going down the same path. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You call your book management, but it's a lot about self-management, as far as I can tell from your site and your writing and everything. So empowerment of the teams, going on line with the Agile principles. You were also a manager in the past, because you spoke one time at the Agile NYC in New York. That was in June 2012, if I remember correctly. And you were a manager and in an organization before you became public speaker many years ago. What was one of those key events from you turning from manager into somebody writing about management in a very different way about management? Is there anything which stands out?
So I have been a manager for about 15 years at various companies. The last position was as Chief Information Officer at a Dutch company in Rotterdam. And I introduced Scrum in the organization a number of years ago. And it was reasonably successful. Of course, we had plenty of problems to solve, but at least it was successful in the sense that most people seemed to like it, the employees, the top management, customers, and turnover dropped to nearly zero for at least 2 years, so people were happy enough. But I did notice that I had to solve the question, what is my contribution here to make things work? Because the Scrum Guide did not have a description of the CIO. It doesn't exist in Scrum. And I do not agree with people who say we don't need managers. Let's get rid of all the managers and put them on a list of impediments, which is sometimes something that I sometimes pick up at Scrum gatherings. I agree with Peter Drucker, who said that management is the critical determining factor. And if you look at the biggest problems that Agile community is facing with worldwide, according to the version 1 State of Agile survey, you see things such as organizational culture, change management, people with the right skills are not available, support by management. Those are the top problems. Well, surprise, surprise, those are all management issues. It's all management stuff. That is the biggest issue. So I agree, we have to discuss management, but not get rid of management, instead replace it with better management. So that has been at least my attempt at contributing to the Agile world, and that's why I focus on that topic with my books.
Right. Scrum was one of the events which actually made you and your position as a manager think about your new role. And it's
correct.
Yeah, and everybody listening to this podcast, being in a position like this, there is definitely, we could say the word servant leadership, or there's something other, not necessarily the exact same thing as we would do in management prior to the arrival of Scrum or Agile, but there are certain shifts in your position. Something might change in your job description. Is that right?
Yes, certainly. A number of things that I wanted to get rid of, which was sometimes difficult, such as performance appraisals or bonuses for account managers. Those were some of my main concerns. And in some cases, I won the fight, and in some cases, I lost it. But certainly, I think I made some progress, and I think this is one of the biggest problems that the Agile community is facing: how to change the rest of the organization, because we sort of seem to have solved the problem of one software team producing a product. That is not that difficult anymore, at least if you have all the books and the experts available. But everything else in the organization needs to be aligned as well, and that's quite a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jochen, I have to say, I went to your website, and one of the things you're describing yourself is being an illustrator. Your website looks awesome. The way,
thank you.
Yeah, so the way how you interact and engage with your visitors on your site is just wonderful. It feels light. It feels like there is dynamics to it. Absolutely fantastic. And I do have to say, I clicked on one YouTube video you made. It's called "I Can't Draw," and
yes.
I was drawn to it because I can't draw, and I watched it, and maybe you can just the clip basically says that you can't draw, and what's the story behind it? There was so much courage in it. That's what I saw in this video. What was your motivation for creating that?
Well, my motivation, first of all, is that again, people ask me, who is doing your illustrations? And then I say, me. I do them myself. And then some people have big eyes, and then they say, oh, I could never do that because I can't draw. Mm-hmm. And my answer is nonsense. Anyone can draw. I mean, if you can move a pen across a piece of paper, you're drawing. What you mean is you cannot draw well, or at least you think of yourself as not being able to draw well. Well, that is an entirely different discussion. But in order to get a message across to people, sometimes the only thing you need is a few circles and some arrows, and you're drawing. I mean, you cannot tell me that you can't draw a circle or an arrow. That doesn't make sense to me. And of course, if you're doing it often, then you develop some skills, and you get a bit better at drawing stick figures and whatever. So I turned that into video also to experiment with a new type of presentation that I call sketch keynote. Mm-hmm. Because sketch notes as a concept are becoming quite popular. Which is people drawing, whether they can draw well or not, yeah. But at least people drawing their notes during conferences or talks or whatever. And I find that fascinating, and that looks great. Some people are quite good at that. So they have become popular, and I thought I could maybe use this kind of presentation, this sketchnote, as a presentation device when I'm on stage, when I'm doing a keynote. So I call it a sketch keynote. So I've been doing this since a couple of months, and the response has been amazing. People love it, I turned one of those into a video, which is called "I Can't Draw."
It's wonderful, yeah, and I can only encourage everyone take a look at that, and at least it encouraged me to try to draw more.
Okay, good.
I'm especially on the stick figure kind of level. That's
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that is awesome. So let's talk about one of the things you did do to create those lightness, and there's a video about Happy Mally, and there's a website about Happy Mally, and also very very nice video about the ideas, the concepts behind that, and maybe you can just mention like what is Happy Mally, and what's your goal with Happy Mally, and how does this all align with your management books and approach?
Sure. So first of all, Happy Mally is a business. It is, in my opinion, not a movement, as some people seem to think. It is a business. We're making money, and I often describe it as a cross between a cooperation or a cooperative and a franchise and an incubator, because they are different companies in the world. Right now there are 6 working together under the same name, and that number is expanding. So it's a cooperative. It's also franchise, because we work with brands such as Management 3.0 and Dare that we license out to each other and to other people. And it's also an incubator, because we invest in experiments, understanding that running experiments is the fastest way to learn. So it's a bit of all 3. And I started it together with Martin Volders and Vasko Duarte from Belgium and Finland/Germany, because I wanted an organization that is, for me, the most modern thing that we could do in the 21st century, because I believe we should stop convincing other people with PowerPoints to change their organizations without doing anything about our own organizations. I see plenty of examples of that. Many business consultants have great talks, but they work in organizations themselves that are like the opposite of what they are trying to preach to others. So I say let's lead by example. Let's practice what we preach first, so that we have actual hands-on experience with the ideas that we think are good, that we think are worth trying out, and then talk about it with other people. So, for example, one idea that I wrote about for my new book is merit money, how people can have a bonus system by giving each other money. And right now we are actually implementing this at Happy Mally. Happy Mally board members are using the merit system to reward each other every month. So we have actual concrete experience with an idea like that. And that makes my talks, I think, more believable, ultimately.
Yeah. So this is the entrepreneur side in you.
Yes.
The Happy Mally side. Just in terms of the business, I know it's a profit business, but how would these things, just as an example? I mean, you mentioned books. There will be like any kind of media, any kind of educational media, or maybe even non-educational, or even podcasts. I think could be incorporated into this idea. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct. Well, actually, the purpose of the business is quite clear, and that is make people happier in their jobs, or help them to be happier in their jobs. Of course, this needs an indirect approach, because a direct approach would be just throwing a party, but that's not sustainable. So we need an indirect approach and help people perform better in their organizations, because that makes them happy. That can mean basically 2 things. Bringing ideas to people can be through publications like podcasts or books or websites or whatever, broadcasting things. Or it could be in terms of getting people together, events, courses, conferences, workshops, whatever. So you will see that basically all the stuff, all the ideas that we have that can help Melly be happier in her job, they will be either events or publications in a broad sense. And we run experiments, see what works and see what doesn't. Mm-hmm. And hopefully half of the experiments will fail. Because according to Donald Reinerson, that would mean that we have an optimal learning rate.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about how you, another topic here on my list, how to change the world. And maybe we can connect that with STOS, or I guess that's how we pronounce it, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so How to Change the World is a book you wrote. It's a smaller book than the Management 3.0, but you wrote that a while ago. It was also the talk you gave in New York. How do these two things interlink, STO's network and How to Change the World?
Oh, good question. So the first thing I noticed when I finished Management 3.0, my first book, is that there were plenty of questions of people in the form of how do I introduce these ideas in my organization? How do I get my managers to believe all this? Because this sounds great, but I will never be able to convince them. So then I started researching change management a bit more. I had already read a couple of books on that topic, but I did a bit more, and that turned into a presentation called How to Change the World. Then people started asking for a written text about that, so I made a PDF, and once I had that, I thought, well, I could just as well publish this as an ebook. And the ebook became a paper book. So this all emerged quite naturally and unplanned, actually. And for me, it was great because this allowed me to experiment with self-publishing. Because How to Change the World is a self-published book. And it's also much easier for me to bring 20 copies of How to Change the World on a plane than 20 copies of Management 3.0, which basically breaks my back if I do that. So How to Change the World is a great as a gift, and it's a very easy read. It's just 90 pages, and was a perfect experiment for me how to learn how to self-publish a book. And when I did that, at the same time I got involved with Steve Denning and Franz Rosalie and Peter Stevens. I had talks with them, and Steve said to me, we should organize something, help managers and leaders everywhere in the world do a better job changing their organizations. And that culminated in the STOS movement. We got together on a mountain in Switzerland not long ago, and there were about 21 people, I believe, from different parts of the world. And it was intended as a one-off event, but we're quite happy that it has had plenty of spin-offs, several other events, and STOS satellites, and it's all amazing. Personally, I'm not involved anymore at this time. I'm very, very happy and proud to have been one of the founders. But I am focusing on Happy Melly right now. Mm-hmm. But I wish the people who took over, I wish them all the best. And whenever it's possible, of course, I will attend the STOS events when it fits my schedule, because they're doing a great job.
All right. Well, awesome. That's a very nice link to it. And I do have one more topic here on our list. Obviously, we can talk about other things as well, not on the list, but it's the NOOP or NOP or NOOP, or how you would pronounce your website.
Yeah, it's no op. There's no op of no operation.
I see. Okay, I have to say, I thought it would be a blog you might have created in the 1990s, maybe, as object-oriented programming. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, well, so it was. I came up with the name long ago when I had absolutely no idea what I should be doing, and and basically the name reflects that because no operation is the instruction to a computer to do nothing.
Right.
And I thought that was an ironic name, which is typical for me. So I claimed it, and that became my blog.
Right. So well, this is when you You were in software engineering in the 1990s. OOP always triggers something, but it could also be NoOp, right?
Yeah, NoOp is where it came from.
Yeah. What's your intent with that blog? What are you trying to achieve with this? Is this more like your personal blog? Is this something you?
Yeah, it is my personal blog. For a while, I have been unsure what to do with it, but I basically redefined my blog since a number of months ago as describing my own exploration as a creative networker, as I call it. I am fully independent. I am indeed an entrepreneur running a business with other people, but at the same time self-employed and trying to organize businesses in a network fashion instead of a hierarchical fashion. Well, this leads to lots of questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? And my intention with my blog is to be more of a reflection tool. Not only promoting my articles, of course, with that, it's obvious that I do that, my books and stuff, and the events that I attend, but also some reflection on how to work with suppliers, what to do with what kind of customers, etc. So the blog should be my personal reflection of my own exploration in this unknown territory. And actually, there will be a brand new layout of my blog launched this week.
Okay.
To celebrate that I have a new purpose for the blog. So it will be completely different. The current layout has been there for a couple of years already, so I was a bit tired of it. And what I also will be doing is I will start video blogging more. I have run 2 experiments called 15 Minutes on Air, and one with Angel Medinia from Spain and one with Jason Little from Canada. I really liked it. There are 15-minute interviews with Hangouts on Air. I am now preparing for a small upgrade in visuals and then schedule more of those 15 minutes interviews. And that will be part of the blog basically.
Awesome, Jochen. There's one thing on your list of definitions you gave yourself, and that's speaker we haven't talked about. To the end of our podcast here together, I hope we can welcome you back sometime to New York for another event.
That would be great. It's always a great excuse to be invited to New York. Yeah.
Thank you, Jochen, and thank you for taking time to talk to me here in this podcast for Agile.FM.
All right. Thanks for inviting me, Jochen.
Thank you for listening to Agile.FM, the radio for the Agile community. I'm your host, Joe Krebs. If you're interested in more programming and additional podcasts, please go to www.Agile.FM. Talk to you soon.